the participants have arrived, everyone. Yeah, we'll start. Hello, everyone. A very good morning to all of you. Wishing you all a very blessed day. Welcome to the 4th series of the webcast webinar organized by the Student Circle of Accounting and Finance, together with the DAFcollaborate, to provide further insights and understandings and professional experience in the field of accounting and finance for you, since you all are the new batch of 21.1 to our university. Well, mentioning about the Department of Accounting, it's one of the largest communities inside the School of Business. And the DAFcollaborate, which is a main unit under the Department of Accounting, has been established to build up networks, relationships with industry partners, and to handle professional affiliations such as CIMA and ACCA. And mentioning about the Student Circle of Accounting and Finance, it's the representative unit of all the students inside the Department of Accounting and Finance, which includes you and me right here. Well, mentioning about our guest lecturer today, Sir Mr. Heshana Kuruppu, is the current Chief Financial Officer of the Pieris group of companies. And of course, before arriving at this unique designation, he has been a prominent graduate from the University of Vijayawardhanapura with a degree in accounting special and with a master's degree in financial economics from the University of Colombo. And before arriving at the designation also, he has worked as a general manager for MAS Holdings, a group CFO at First Capital, and as a senior audit supervisor at KPMG. And I guess you know that it's one of the leading audit firms in Sri Lanka. And now, to welcome you, sir, I would like to invite Senior Lecturer of the Department of Accounting and Finance, Mrs. Bill Disanayakan. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Sanada. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the eminent speaker of the day to our webinar, Mr. Heshana Kuruppu, the CFO of Pieris Group of Companies, on behalf of Department of Accounting and Finance, NSBM. Dear sir, we warmly welcome you for this session today, and we immensely appreciate your humble presence for the day. Because we organized this session to give your valuable insights for our very fresh undergraduates who joined NSBM very recently. And also, I would like to extend my welcome for all the academic members who joined to the session today. Finally, we organized this special webinar for the very fresh undergraduates, as I said earlier, because this is part of their group assignment as well. So, my dear students, I warmly welcome you for the session today. I know you are most exciting and you are eagerly waiting for the session. So, dear students, I believe that you would reap the maximum benefits out of the insights which will be provided by Mr. Heshana Kuruppu today. Thank you so much, everyone. Mr. Heshana Kuruppu, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for this kind introduction. I think for the better connectivity, I'll switch off or stop the video. But if you require any clarification or if you want to see me, I can, of course, do it. Right. I think I can remember 15, 20, when did I into the university? I think 1997 August. So I was also, like you all, went through the same journey. And here I am today explaining some of the experience that I earned over the last 20-25 years to similar set of budding undergraduates or accountants who are trying to come up the ladder. Yeah, I think you have reached a milestone in your life, and it's definitely a good footstep that you have taken forward, following accounting and following a degree in accounting. So as introduced by your senior lecturer as well as Sanada, I did my A-levels in 95. Why I'm trying to say this, because always good to know my story before we go into some of the practical and other areas. And this is not boasting. This is for you to see the career, how career built. Some of the experience that I share may help you even when you shape up your life as well. So after 95 A levels, there was no much guidance at that time what to do after A levels, because we had to wait 2 years. And as you know, in 95, there were no university other than public state universities. There were no any private universities locally. I can still remember after completing my A levels, I just wrote to one university in the UK just to see whether there are scholarship opportunities available. University of Birmingham. They wrote to me, but there were no options available. Then one of my close relative told me, why not you follow chartered accountancy, since you have to wait for 2 years until you get the university entrance, because that time A-level to university entrance, there was minimum 2 years due to the backlog created by many unrest in the university system and political issues revolving that time. Even now we see some unrest in university system, but I don't think there is a backlog as high as 2 years. So during that period, I started doing chartered accountancy. So there were other qualifications also available, but I think most of us decided we do chartered accountancy because it's a career as well as economically we could afford to pay. And then during that time, I got my results as well. So I got good results. I became Colombo District 20 and Island 38. And similarly, we started continuing chartered accountancy because there were 2 year period, as I mentioned. So by the time I enter university, chartered had, at that time, there were 5 levels that you had to complete for chartered: licentiate 1, 2, professional 1, 2, 3. So I can't remember even how many exams, must be 20, 25 exams. And if you come down in one exam, let's say you do licentiate 1, 4 subjects, and you have to do all 4 or 5 subjects together. If you refer in one, if you come down in one subject, that whole 4 subjects you have to do again. I don't think you have, now you can do selective basis, you can decide which subject to choose. Those days we didn't have those flexibilities. If you come down in one subject, that whole level you have to redo. So sometimes chartered accountants, when they complete exams at those days, it was almost 30, 35 years old, because you have to go through that rigorous process. And it became very unpopular as well. I don't think any student would like to do it in the current context. So somehow by the time I entered university, I completed up to 3rd level. And during the university, I couldn't do CA because there is a practical training requirement for you to sit next 2 levels. So I decided to concentrate on university exams during that period. Why I'm again saying this, there may be some learnings you all can adapt and use it in your career as well. Also, don't think that you need to be a bright person or with inborn talent for you to climb up the ladder. Sometimes someone might say, no, he has done well, he has studied well, that's why he has come this level. No, it doesn't mean that, because I have enough and more examples that I can tell you. Those who have not done well, even at Excel A levels, after A levels, those who have done really well and come up the ladder. So it's up to us to decide how we want to take our career forward from this point onwards, at least. Because you would have not put a lot of effort sometimes during your A levels, or you would have put a lot of effort, but you couldn't get the desired marks. That's okay. That's part of life. But now onwards, if we put our efforts right, still we can achieve greater heights. That's what I'm trying to explain. And so during that period, after the second year, first year, I didn't have anything else to do, because practical training requirement was a barrier for you to complete CA. While studying in first 2 years at the university, you can't attend practical training. So I decided to concentrate on my university education. And during university time, I started doing a lot of extracurricular activities as well. By nature, I prefer doing extracurricular activities. Even at school, I used to do that. When I think back, I feel that's one reason for you to go up in your career, because you sacrifice things for benefit of others, but eventually it helps you without you knowing. That's the benefit of extracurricular activities. I used to do a lot of, as I mentioned, at the school level as well. I was a deputy head prefect of my college. I studied at Heshana College. Then during university period also, I did a lot of extracurricular activities, and I became the president of our Accountancy and Financial Management Association of the Department of Accounting. That again, students elected me, knowing the leadership as well as doing things without expecting a return. That's what I meant by extracurricular. So if you are also thinking it that way, definitely that will help you, because in corporate level, corporate world or anywhere, if you are selfish, it's going to display. So it's going to be very tough task if you are selfish for someone not to realize that. It's easy to realize. So when you do these extra activities, it helps you to do things without expecting a gain in return. And definitely that, as I'm repeating it, that helps you in shaping up your career and when you move up the ladder as well. So with that experience, I completed the second year. By the time second year, I had very good results. And a lot of my lecturers told me, you must try for a attempt to get a first class. And I never thought I could obtain first class degree, because accountancy generally considered to be a tough degree to follow. So that became ambition during second year itself. And then after third year, we started undergoing practical training. Practical training period is a tough period. I can remember when I was doing my final exams, CA, there was a deadline audit that we were handling at KPMG. I can still remember the audit, selling co-insurance audit. It was the first time insurance audit that came to our group of KPMG, and no one had any idea of how to do insurance, because insurance is a specialized area. And similarly, I was sitting for my final level exam as well. So tough task. Being a supervisor, you have to lead a team of around 20 and complete the first time audit on time. Similarly, there's a personal goal for you to achieve, do your final level exams and become a chartered accountant. So, and similarly, during that time, just 2 to 3 weeks before, you had your university finals as well. So you can imagine the stress, challenging periods that a person has to go through even at the early stage of the career. But when you think back, these are the points that shape up a person as well. So you have to now, there is one aim of getting a first class. There is another aim, you need to now do final level exam. Similarly, at the career and profession, there is supervising role you are playing, and first time audit into a new area, and your partner is expecting you to deliver this report. So when you think back, it's like yakaya kammala. So you have several targets to achieve. So I decided priority list. I thought I'll prioritize at this particular moment. What do you think you would prioritize? So if you have those areas, what do you think best priority would be? Yeah. Any idea? I would like to make it a discussion as well, and I don't want to take too much of time on the presentation. So what do you think best priority would be? Because these are life decisions that you may come across.
Yes, for me, my best priority would be at the moment is my education, because similar to you, that those days, even I'm still in the second year in my university. Right. So for the time being, my main priority is to get these things done with the first class, and to get good marks. And yeah.
Okay, so if I ask relevant to what I mentioned earlier, there are 4 areas: university final level exam, completion of audit as the supervisor, my final level chartered accountancy exams, and out of those 3, what do you think? I'm not single out you and us. If generally, if someone tell me, had you faced that situation, what would have prioritized?
Yeah, of course, I have an obligation to fulfill, so I will definitely prioritize the audit first in line. Then only I will focus on the university exams and then the chartered exams. But since the audit is a huge obligation to fulfill, since many depend on our decisions, then so I will prioritize the audit first and then go for the others. In my opinion, that's what I will do.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good, and that displays your attitude as well. Yes, that's the same selection I had. So I decided
every others will be in trouble, right?
Yeah. So that's good. Good attitude, and that's the same thing I decided. So I thought I must focus on the audit at hand. So if I can't do the exam this time, let me try it next time. So that was my thinking. I know it was a painful decision, but can't help. So even at whatever level your job comes first. Job means when you think back, my first allowance that I drove was 1,250 rupees per month. Even at that time that I was the supervisor, it would have been around 11 or 12,000 rupees. So money doesn't matter. What matters is what's your priority and what you want to achieve. Because sometimes people try to concentrate more on money, but I feel those are short-sighted. You can earn money, but there are things that you need to achieve during first phase of your life. Those things you can't measure in terms of money. So I also looked at it that way. Though audit firm experience doesn't give you much money, I felt that experience, exposure is really invaluable. So on that basis, I decided it, and I'm happy. So coming back to my story, so I decided to do the audit, and it was so tough. Actually, I can remember last 2.5 or 3 days. So I completely worked for almost 48 hours. So previous day morning you report to work continuously, because there was no time to even go back home, change your clothes, come back and start the next day. So continuously we worked 36 to 48 hours. There were around 5 of us, and all 5 are chartered accountants today. 2 are in Australia. 1 is a finance director. I am here today. And there is 1 more in New Zealand. So all are qualified accountants, but we as a team at that time decided somehow we are going to overcome this and achieve it. And we worked for 36 to 48 hours and finished the audit, did the first annual report, and complete everything. So I'm happy to say after I completed the audit, Selinco Insurance came back and said, we are looking for young accountants. Would you like to join us? I actually had a different priority and I want to complete my exam. So I couldn't tell that part. So then I concentrated on my CA exam. I did it, but I came down in 1 subject. It's a financial management, one of the most preferred subject that I used to do at that time, but I came down. It was a major blow because I have never come down in a single subject before that in any of the exams. But that's life. So I was happy with what I achieved and decided to do my subject again and completed CA next time. So that's how the career started. And then final level, degree also, final results came. I managed to secure first class degree. So most of the things achieved, and chartered I had to do again. And that also managed to somehow complete. Then knowing how we worked at KPMG, one partner, senior partner, Mr. Sivaratnam, one day came and asked me, Heshana, would you like to stay at KPMG or are you looking for an outside opportunity? I said, sir, I would like to go and join mercantile sector. Okay, there is this opportunity at the next door company. The managing director spoke to me. Go and see him. So I have never, because I didn't even have a CV. I was not ready. I said, sir, I don't have, no, you just go and see him. So I went the next door KPMG, one building, 2 buildings away, First Capital. So I went and saw the managing director, and he had a brief chat with me. He said, you are coming with very high recommendation from Mr. Sivaratnam. So I think that's more than enough for me. Are you willing to join? So I didn't have any other option available as well. Then one of my friend told me there is an opportunity during that same period. There is another opportunity available at MAS. So I sent with a lot of difficulties, prepared a CV and sent a CV. So now one side, this First Capital opportunity is available through the friend. There is a First MAS holding accountant job available. So I had a dilemma because MAS is also considered one of the top company at that time. Even at that time, I'm talking about 20 years ago, and Paymaster. So I told this particular partner, sir, these are 2 opportunities available. What should I do? Why I'm saying this, in your career, you need some mentors. When you go up and when you study, you need a mentor or a person to coach you. It could be one of your lecturer. It could be a senior member from a profession. Always try to have someone who can reach out, someone who can advise you, someone who knows better than you in and around the world. So that's my advice to all these young undergraduates. Always see whether you can have a mentor. So Mr. Sivaratnam, Johan Perra. So there are a few names that I can mention. They were my mentors initially. So I said, so there is this opportunity. What should I do? I'm in a bit of a dilemma now. You introduced me to First Capital. They are ready to take me, and one of my friends, through that I got this opportunity. Both came at the same time. So now I have to decide one of these. So Mr. Sivaratnam told me pluses, minuses of these 2 opportunities. And he told me, you look at and do your own evaluation. I'm not going to say what you need to select. These are positives, these are negatives. You do your own evaluation. Obviously, salary-wise, MAS was better. So after doing all my evaluation, I decided I'm going to take up First Capital job. So as I mentioned, even at that time, salary-wise, MAS was better. So you might be wondering, how did I then go to MAS? Because someone told that I have worked for MAS. Yes, I decided to give up that opportunity. Initially, joining MAS, I took up First Capital job. Just after audit firm, I became a manager there, manager finance and planning. So this is just only 4 years of experience in audit firm, and now we are going to a profitable company. At that time, that this particular company had a bottom line of 300 million, and it was a talk of the town. Even at that time, 300 million was a big money in 2003. The holding company of that particular company's profit was lower than this particular company's profit. So I became manager finance and planning, and was working there for almost 4 years and 8 months. While I was there, my CFO decided to migrate, and Mr. Hema Kamarasuriya, Singha chairman, was the chairman of my company as well. So they decided to appoint me as the group CFO. So within 2.5 years, from manager finance and planning, I became a group CFO of that particular group. When you think back, those were too much positions for your age, but I took up that challenge. So after 4 years and 8 months, then there were some changes to the ownership structure. I decided this time to move. So when I was thinking about companies, again, one of my friends told me, there is this opportunity at MAS. friend in the sense. Yeah.
If you don't mind, if your connection is stable, could you please turn on the video since the webinar is will be also streaming on FB Live.
Okay.
Yeah, if your connection is stable on this. Thank you.
Better?
Yeah, thank you. It's better.
Right. Okay. So then again, this opportunity came and I decided, it was out of Colombo, Tulhiriya. There is this opportunity, financial controller at MAs, whether I would like to consider. So I said, yes, MAs is a great organization. Why not take it up? So then I joined, I was selected and I joined MAs as a financial controller. But again, a lot of people would have rejected that offer because it was out of, like, you have to travel. They give you accommodation. But some people prefer to work from home or travel from home. I decided, and I had a very young family. My kid was just 5 months. Even CEO who interviewed me asked me, "Are you taking the right decision? You have to travel to Tulhiriya." I said, "Yes, let's give it a try." So I joined that company, and first 2 years I used to stay there. But rest of the 4 to 5 years I used to travel daily basis. They give you a vehicle and a driver, but still it's tough. So normally one way traveling is around 2 hours to 2.5 hours. And then in the evening, it's definitely 2.5 to 3 hours. So in a day, if you travel daily, you are on the road for 4 hours to 5 hours. So once in 3 days, you are on the road for 1 working day. Effectively, what it means is, so you are completing 1 working year when you work for 3 years there on the road. It was just a time-consuming exercise, but I enjoyed it because it's my choice to travel from home after 2 years. So I worked there for almost 9 years. After joining there as the group financial controller, I became general manager in 3 years, and then worked there as a general manager until I left MAS in 2017. So 2017, I joined this group of companies, David Pieris. So David Pieris is also into diversified interest, financial service sector. You may have heard asset line leasing, then insurance broking, fund management, stock broking. We had license. Then logistics side, there is a company. We are little bit into agriculture, agri-production. Then automotive sector, this is the biggest automotive sector company in the country at the moment. In addition, you may have seen Sri Lanka karting circuit, one of the Asia's best karting circuit for karting enthusiastic and racing people, which is around 1 billion rupee investment. And there's another investment happening there, Sri Lanka water park, international level water park is coming up, and which will be operational from December. So that's a kind of group activities at the moment. So I'm heading that group finance function. Yeah, so this is in short the journey. And then during this period, I wanted to get rather than getting qualifications, wanted to get myself updated on several areas, because when you study, sometimes you tend to think getting multiple qualification is better. So I always have a different view on that. Sometimes having too much of qualifications may be a disqualification as well, because you may not have a focus. So I wanted to get qualifications, not to have titles at the end of the name, but to get new knowledge. So with that, I did my MBA at Postgraduate of Institute PIM, MBA in Banking and Finance. and then I did another master's in financial economics at University of Colombo. That again, I'm saying this to say I didn't want to get too many qualifications, because I know some of my friends used to do ACCA while doing CA, then CIMA, or partly follow CFA. So there are many things sometimes we tend to do. So my view was always look at a focus area, do that well, and see what are the vacuums and gaps in your knowledge, try to acquire those separately. So that's the kind of approach I adapted, and that's why I did even masters in financial economics, because I felt as a finance profession or as a business leader, I should be able to read economic indicators properly. I should be able to predict what's happening in future, and I should be able to understand how the economy behaves. So with that in mind only, I did masters in financial economics. This is my journey so far, so let's see how it unfold from here onwards. Okay, so before we get into some of the other points, do you have any questions or any areas that you want me to touch upon? No?
Yeah,
okay.
Everyone, if you all are having questions, you can drop it in the chat box. Thank you, Anush. Yes.
Right. Okay. So let's get to the topic at hand: accounting as a profession and future fit accountants. So, what do you mean by a profession? Any idea? What do you think? Yeah. I prefer this lecture type questioning because I have been a lecturer for some time and lectured many chartered accountants. So that could be the reason it spontaneously comes this questioning. So what do you mean by profession? Any idea? Okay, so let's go into some of the areas. How does a profession differ from a job or occupation? So there are some features that you may see in a profession, but essentially those may not be available in an occupation or job. What are these features? So this is how a professional is distinguished from another person. What are these features? So a profession or a professional person undergoes a systematic training. What do you mean by a systematic training? There is a particular way, we could say even a syllabus, expected outcome from that particular training is stipulated. So there is a systematic training. That training can be monitored. What do you mean by monitored? A senior person monitors your attainment of the training, or it can be non-monitored training as well. But there needs to be some proof to show that you have done the particular work and obtained the training. So that's one key feature of a profession. A person undergoes a systematic training. Second one, sound knowledge acquisition and passing of exams. A professional has to go through this exam process. We call it IPD, Initial Professional Development. So initial professional development is the one that you do through in addition to training those exams. So if you look at chartered accountancy, you may see corporate level, business level, strategic level. So those are different levels. You have to pass those levels and get your initial professional development experience before becoming a member. Third one, once you become a member, that particular person is governed by a strict code of conduct and ethics. So any profession, that's one key feature that differentiates a profession from a normal job. What does that mean? Governed by a strict code of conduct and ethics. Yes. The particular institute that you follow your education stipulate expected behaviors of a professional. Things that you can do, things that you can't do, what are the bad behaviors, how do you deal with bad behaviors. So those things are there in the code of conduct and ethics. So we know that what is good and bad, but code of conduct stipulates and in writing put what is good and bad, as well as if you do bad things, what are the repercussions. So I don't know how many of you are aware. Let's say Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, since I'm involved in some of the activities I know, there are disciplinary inquiries against members. If there is a complaint, because when we are working in the organizations, there are stakeholders. Those stakeholders can be your employers, or stakeholders can be public at large, or stakeholders can be government institutions. Whoever who is obtaining your service can be a stakeholder. So those stakeholders have the right to complain to the institute if you have a bad behavior, or if you have created something not right. So there are instances, sometimes even employers complain against chartered accountants to the institute. So then institute has to, there is ethics committee, institute has to instigate the investigation, and disciplinary committee is appointed. So as a result of that investigation, it's like normal investigation a police does. So you have to go through, get witness, listen to both sides, and then those committees decide whether there is a issue of the behavior of the person, or whether there is a violation of code of conduct, violation of act clauses of the act, and depending on that, the punishment can be stipulated. So there are instances where some members have been suspended, some members have been seized, sometimes some members have been reprimanded or severely warned. So that is another feature of a professional organization, as well as a profession differs from any other occupation. So when you have these things only, sometimes you have acceptance and demand in the market as well. Why politicians are not regarded as accepted in the society? So because you don't see some of these things are happening. You can do any misdeed, but you can run away. And next time election, he gets the highest votes. But in profession, you can't do it. So there is a strict code of conduct and ethics. And if you violate it, you have to face consequences. Then there is another feature you see, the professionals follow CPD. What do you mean by CPD? Previously, I mentioned IPD, Initial Professional Development. Here, we talk about CPD, Continuous Professional Development. Though you get the membership, your studies and learning does not end there. As a professional, you need to continuously develop your professionalism. So that is why it calls continuous professional development. So it can be through various programs, MBAs, following training courses, or reading books, even by doing work. Those can be also considered as continuous professional development. Only thing is you have to get that continuous professional development completed. So that is another feature in the profession. And as I mentioned earlier, there is an organization governing the profession, and we call it an institute. So it can be Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. So there are several institutes that are governing this profession. So these are key features. I'm not saying there is a definition and ABCD of profession, but these are key features that you see a profession and how it differs from a normal job. So when we try to be professionals, we need to understand we go through this process, as well as we have these features in our role that we play. Clear? So this is, we need to get an idea first to see accounting as a profession means these are the features of that profession. Okay, then what are the jobs available for professional accountant? So we know there are many. If you look at from bottom to up here, so this is the career path that one may follow. Intern and trainee. So I'm not quite sure whether you have a practical training component in your degree program. If you have it, well, and it's good. So this is where normally most of us start as intern or trainee. Then you move up the ladder and go to the position like CFO, vice president, finance director. When you come towards that, you go through several layers: assistant managers, executives, senior executives, accountant, then financial controllers, finance managers, head of finance. Then finally you come to CFO, VP, finance director, and accountants don't stop there. You can see more. There are many accountants who have reached CEOs, MDs, chairman's levels. So there are many accountants who have reached these levels. Even I can tell a few names. Hema Kamarasuriya, as I mentioned earlier, Chairman Singer, he's a chartered accountant. Mahendra Jayasekara, Lankatile CEO, is a chartered accountant. Ashoka Pieris, former singer and currently Food City Cargill CEO, a chartered accountant. So there are many of that nature, chartered accountants holding CEO, chairman, MD positions. So accountant easily can reach the business leader positions. It's one distinct advantage of being an accountant. So those people who are being accountants can easily reach this CEO, MD, chairman positions as well. So as I mentioned, from bottom to up, normally this is the career path you go through. And right hand side, I may have mentioned key roles that those professionals play. Starting with data entry, auditing, then you go up the ladder towards CFO, FD roles. You start playing strategic roles, more for strategic planning, resource allocation, navigating the business, and business partnering. So let's look at some of these areas in future, more to do with value adding roles. But before that, you will look at preparation of accounts, financial statement analysis, planning, budgeting. So those are some of the roles played by head of finance, finance controller. So accountant roles may involve preparation of accounts, application of accounting standards, tax preparation, tax planning, all that aspects. Then executives, senior executive levels may involve bookkeeping, preparation of accounts, and analysis. So those are, this is not a very exhausted list. Some of the common functions that the finance person does when they go through the ladder. Since you are just starting this journey, I thought I'll highlight this area. And your responsibility differs from one role to the other. And your skill level also required differs from one role to the other. I have mentioned typically three skills that we talk about. What are those three skills? Technical skills, conceptual skills, and interpersonal skills. So in your view, let's say bottom 3 to 4, that is intern, trainee, executives, accountants, to a certain extent finance controller, finance manager. What are the key role, most important weightage that you need to have out of these three skills? Is it technical skills, interpersonal skill, or conceptual skill? Bottom roles. What do you think?
Well, I think we need interpersonal skills for every level in the organization.
Right.
Balance of interpersonal skills, because we need many people out there
Right. Okay, good. So interpersonal skills is required because you need to deal with people at every level. Okay. Then bottom level, bottom in the sense executives, accountants, what's the other skill mostly required? Is it technical or more to do with conceptual?
More towards conceptual skills.
Yeah. So that's why I actually want to highlight more to do with, I'll explain it, more to do with technical skills. What I mean here by technical is, let's say accounting standards. So you may learn a lot of accounting standards, Sri Lanka financial reporting standards, IFRS, IAS, those things. Then application relating to income tax, rules and regulations governing companies' accounts. All those are technical things. That technical knowledge is mostly required at the level of accountant, assistant manager, executive, senior executive, and towards a certain level of finance manager as well. You need to have very thorough technical understanding. That is why you study those accounting standards, go through those applications, look at many questions, do sums to get this thorough accounting standard aspects. And have thorough technical skills. But when you go up the ladder, mostly what you require is a conceptual skill. That's why I meant by strategic planning, navigation, thinking beyond your theory. You should have that capacity to think beyond theory. And how do I apply it? What is that new concept available in the market? How do I visualize something differently? So that skill is required when you go up the ladder. That's why I'm trying to explain here. Up to a particular point, you require accounting standard, knowing all that technical is required. But beyond a certain level, what you require is how that application works, whether there are different concepts that you can apply, and conceptualizing new things, coming up with new ideas. So that is what is required after a particular level, especially at the senior level. So during this period of your degree, you need to have technical knowledge because it's the base. If you ask me accounting standard questions and a particular reference, I don't think I'll be able to answer that. You will definitely know better than me. But if I have to interpret the accounting issue and see whether it's in line with the accounting standard or not, I can do it because I know where to refer and look at that interpretation. So that is what you mean by conceptual skill. But knowing what that standard, what is that standard refers to, and looking at a calculation, that is more to do with technical level skills. So during this period in your degree, or when you're following even extra professional qualifications, you need to have that technical. That's the base. When you have thorough technical, definitely you can improve your conceptual skills as well. So this is some areas that you need to understand. As I mentioned, the responsibilities are different, skill set is different. Similarly, your salary levels are also different depending on the level that you go up in the ladder. Okay, so actually now current job titles are also even now different. So I have mentioned some of these are traditional job titles. I can remember MAs had a job title called financial entrepreneur. It's not a finance executive, financial entrepreneur. There are some businesses, they have a job title called finance business partner. So there are different titles also now coming up to reflect and give more weightage to finance roles and highlight the role that they used to play is no more valid. It's a different role. So when you look at financial entrepreneur, it's a totally different scenario, isn't it? Finance executive versus financial entrepreneur is a different scenario. That person is more of an entrepreneurial person who is driving finance. That's a financial entrepreneur. Then this finance business partner is not account executive. So that person has to play that finance and business partnering role. So those are new titles that are emerging in the business world to highlight some of the roles and responsibilities of finance profession. Okay, so these are some of the areas relating to jobs. Then before I move on to what future holds, let me talk about some of the common issues with young accountants. Because these issues may, when we got involved at Chartered Institute, we used to have discussions with employers, especially when we do our syllabus reviews, syllabus developments. I also have got involved with those employer discussions as an employer as well as a stakeholder to obtain employer feedback. So these are some of the common feedback we have received. This is not changing. Even 2015, we got almost most of the things are common. 2020 also, we got most of these feedbacks common. So why I am highlighting it, for you to know these weaknesses or issues. And so when you know these issues are commonly there, you can put some effort to overcome those. So what are those common issues? Technically very sound, but what does that mean? There's something missing. These young accountants are technically very sound, but so that but gives the so sometimes they can't explain what is that but it says there is something missing. So technically very sound means what I mentioned earlier. So you have very good understanding of accounting standards, you know tax laws, you know other compliance requirements, all that. But so there is something missing. What does that mean? So what they say is business application. It's what they say is they are very theory driven people. They don't know how to apply it. There's sometimes they call it potegura. So you know theory, but you don't know how to apply it. So technically very sound, but good as a financial accountant, tax expert, linked to the first one, and very system and control driven. What does that mean? You always look for controls. You always look for systems, procedures, following process. So that's the way you are trained. Most of the time, accountants are trained on that way. So we always look for logic. We always look for a process and procedure to follow. Sometimes there are instances where you may have to deviate from those processes and procedures and allow flexibility for business to run. But if you are not having that mindset, you may not do it. So this is another complaint. Can't write reports properly. So that's another common issue. When you are in finance, especially at the middle level, there are many reports that you have to write. There are board papers you have to present to the board. Let's say capital expenditure. There is a new machine that you need to buy. So how do you justify that acquisition? It falls on the responsibility of finance person. You have to write a report and give details and give your recommendation, whether it's a good buy or not. So for you to do that, you need to have a clear way of communicating, writing a report and presenting your facts. I'm talking a simple one. So it can be even acquiring another company. So you should be able to write good report. I'm not saying that first day itself you have to do this, and don't get worried about those things. I'm saying when you are reaching those levels, you need to have these competencies. So get ready, acquire them, be ready with those skills that are required. So that is why I'm highlighting, otherwise not to scare you and say from day one you need report writing abilities. So those are key areas that you need to concentrate. No proper interpretation is given to support decision making. There is this common joke that they say, I want an accountant with single hand. Accountant why? So when you ask a question from accountant, he says, one hand you can do this, on the other hand you can do that. So there is no conclusion. So the person says, I want an accountant with single hand, because there is no other. So that's another complaint. There is no decisiveness. There is no firm recommendation. You give answers all over. So that's another common issue that they highlight. No proper interpretation given to support decision making. Why you don't give proper interpretation? Because you are not clear what needs to be done. So that's a common issue. Doesn't challenge the status quo. Another common issue they highlight. They don't challenge what is happening. They also try to continue the same what is happening in the business. There is no challenging mentality. So they don't challenge the status quo. And they cannot present themselves well. All these have to do with soft skills. You don't come out well. You don't communicate, explain your point across to the audience well. So if that doesn't happen well, sometimes it can be one of the best decisions that you are trying to communicate. If it doesn't come out well, that won't get accepted. So this is the other point they mention. Especially this happens when you are at a board meeting or when you are at a senior management meeting. Irrespective of your level, you should be able to communicate your point across to the total team well. But this is also a common weakness that the seniors and corporate world mention about young accountants. Recently, I was at a discussion about getting interns and giving an opportunity for interns. So the team discussed, okay, so let's look at state university interns. Let's look at foreign university interns. NSBM and related ones were classified as foreign university intern. So they all were happy to look at both and have a hybrid intake and consider some training opportunities given. Because the organization also wanted to see new blood coming into the organization. But one senior member asked, why do you say students or undergraduates of NSBM as foreign university interns? So the HR person said, no, they are following foreign degrees, and that's why I classified it. Then the particular senior said, I don't think. If you look at the profile of the person that you get from state university and profile of the person who goes to NSBM or similar universities, you don't see a difference. It's same background, same education. Its only difference is one is doing local university, could be even English medium. The other one is following a foreign degree, but locally. What we need to, the other senior person says, what we need to look for is foreign graduates who have gone out and come back here for internship. So what he was trying to differentiate is these last 2 points. What he said is those who have gone out have got a different exposure, are having a different skill set. They challenge the status quo. They can present themselves well. I think we have to accept this issue in our systems, in our university system locally, or in our university system. I am hopeful that NSBM has a different way of doing it. To a certain extent, local universities follow doing foreign degrees. Also, there can be this issue. So we will have to see how we overcome this as students as well as collectively as lecturers, because when you put these two set of students together, local university student or locally studying foreign degree student versus foreign student who has gone to a foreign country, come here for internship, there is a clear distinction, the way that they handle and how they challenge the status quo. So that is because of the exposure, that is because of the way that they have been brought up. We need to learn that and introduce it to our systems. I'm telling this to our undergraduates also. You need to also understand that there is a clear difference, because I have seen it. Even we have that weakness. We have gone through local. It's nothing to do with our own personal issues. It's to do with our system. So we have not been groomed to challenge. But foreign universities, they are grooming us to challenge. So that weakness is there when you come out, and even when you go to corporate world, we are not only very rare set of people, they are available to challenge and look at things differently. Okay. Right. So this is about what is profession and what future holds for us. What key issues available in the market, highlighted by the market as a professional. Now I move on to the future. What future holds for us? This report is published by World Economic Forum in October 2020. If you do a Google search, you can find it. The World Economic Forum is an international organization for public and private cooperation. They are looking at political, business, culture, and other leaders of society. They have these discussions, they engage them, and identify several initiatives. So one initiative that they have conducted is through survey, they have identified the future of jobs and related areas, and this report is available publicly. So I'm going to extract some of those information for your understanding. What future holds for us as per this report, what are the skills required, what are the jobs that are going to get prominence, or what are the technologies that are going to drive next 5-10 year period. So let's look at some of these things, because you are going to be job seeker in another 3 year or 4 year time. So then you need to see, though you are following accounting, whether there are areas that you need to concentrate more, whether there are areas that you need to follow and study. Right. So these are some of the technologies that they have identified likely to be adapted by 2025. So as a percentage of companies surveyed, they have given. So you can see cloud computing, almost 80%. So this pale color or amber color one is blue color and amber color difference is the difference compared to 2018. How many people have increased it when it comes to 2025? In other words, if you go to first one, cloud computing, I'll explain that. Cloud computing, more than 80% of surveyed participants are saying cloud computing going to be adapted by 2025. And compared to, within bracket 17 means, compared to 2018, that shows an increase of 17%. So similarly, you can read it that way. So these are some of the technologies already adapted or going to be having very prominent in years to come. Big data analytics. You might be having this in your as part of your syllabus as well. But these are few areas. Internet of Things and connected devices. Cyber security, artificial intelligence, e-commerce and digital trade, robots, augmented and virtual reality, 3D and 4D printing and modeling. So there is a whole heap of new words and technologies that are emerging, and year on year there is new trend, and people also believe these are going to be new trends that are affecting the future jobs. So this is just to have an idea what are those new technologies to be adapted, or already some are already adapted actually. Even big data, there are companies who are now analyzing data and going into big data. Even my company, we are having a project team working on big data and robotic process automation. So even locally, this is now already happening. So that is technology is likely to be adapted by 2025.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
There was a small question. Yeah, even I want to know about that. So regarding the previous slide, how can we read the chart? How can we read those statistics which you have mentioned in the previous chart, the percentages and all? How can we compare?
Right. Yeah, so this one, there are a number of participants who have come for this survey. So what it says is share of company surveyed. So 80% of the surveyed people, or 80% or more, have identified cloud computing as a priority area. Okay. Then this 17% shows compared to 2017-18 survey, there is an increase of 17%. Okay. So some are having minus. Let's say new material from the bottom fourth one, minus 12. That means compared to 2018 survey, it has come down. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then with those technological changes happening, there are job roles also having demand or decreasing demand. So job roles are having increasing demand or decreasing demand across industries. So this is again same report. They highlight increasing demand job roles. So first 20 increasing demand job roles, data analysts and scientists, artificial intelligence and machine learning specialist, big data specialist, digital marketing and strategy specialist, process automation specialist, business development professionals, digital transformation specialists. So like that, there are increasing demand because we observed earlier, there are technological trends affecting jobs. With that, these are the roles that are demanded by the industry, going to be top 20 job roles in increasing demand. Then right-hand side, what you see is decreasing demand. So what are the jobs that are having decrease in demand? See, data entry clerks. So when you read carefully, you will see at least 4 to 5 decrease in demand roles relating to accountants, data entry clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, data entry clerks to a certain extent. There are accountants who I know, accounting in the sense early stage of accounting is data entry. So that's going to be a decrease in demand. Administrative and executive secretaries, accounting, bookkeeping, and payroll clerks. So that is going to have a decrease in demand. Then accountants and auditors, decrease in demand. Business service and administration managers. So financial analyst even, number 11, decrease in demand. Why is that? What do you think? Yeah. Why do you think even financial analysts is going to have a decrease in demand? Because previously we looked at machine learning, robotics, artificial intelligence are going to have increasing technology adoption. So when you have those technologies adapted, some of the human functions like financial analysts going to have a challenging future, because technology is going to take over some of these areas. Clear? Yeah. So what we can see is around 4 to 5 jobs relating to finance are going to have a decrease in demand, and those are going to be taken over by technology. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. Then top 15 skills for 2025. So with that, changes happening, challenges ahead of us, what are the skills that we need to master? Analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, problem solving, critical thinking. So I'm not going to go through one by one, but these are the areas that we need to master in our studies, during our professional qualification, when we even read. These are areas that we need to see whether we get our act right to acquire these competencies. These are not things that you just get, you have to master. So even if your syllabuses, they might have it, because you don't have a separate program called critical thinking and analysis. It comes naturally with the program inbuilt into that. All the programs may have these components built into it for you to get these skills developed. But finally, we need to have ourselves equipped with these skills for us to succeed in 2025 and beyond. Yeah.
So now in future, according to these statistics shown by you, so this means that, does it mean that we need more of technical skills overall? I mean, holistically.
Yeah, definitely yes. Technical means, it doesn't mean that you need to have a knowledge of programming. Technical also, we need to see what areas. So we saw some areas like data analytics, robotic process automation. So I'll explain some of those areas further down. Future fit accountant, what are the areas that we require? So then we can cover it there. Okay, right. So with that, let's see what should we do. When was the last time you sharpened your axe? I would like to draw your attention on a small story here. There was a merchant, a timber merchant. So that timber merchant had a wood cutter, very seasoned, experienced wood cutter. So he was doing his job very well. In a day, he cuts roughly 17 to 18 trees, fold them down, bring them to small logs, then bring timber, and timber merchant was happy, and his demand was going up. So he wanted to get a new guy to support the existing senior person. So he recruited a new guy, put new guy also with the existing timber cutter. Both went to the forest. The existing person was not that happy. Obviously, you will also encounter these things when you go to corporate world sometimes. That's part. It's not always that new person is accepted by the seniors. Sometimes this can happen. So the senior person was not that happy. He was grumbling and he said, why is that we get a new person? Let's see whether he also can cut as much as I do. So he wanted to see the performance. First day both went. The old person, the senior person cut 18 days again, trees again. The new person managed to do only 12. The timber owner of the business said, that's okay, you're still learning. Us senior person also trained him, but senior person did not train. Then next day came, again both went. So first day he cut 12, new person. Next day new person cut 16. The old person first day 18, he became 16. So he was declining, the new person increasing. Obviously, the senior guy was very furious and he came back and said, no, these guys, they don't know how to do things. They are doing underhand things. He doesn't know our culture. I don't think this is the right selection. All that he complained, grumbled. But timber shop owner said, no, let's continue. Third day came, still new person is increasing. So now he has reached to 18. The old person or senior person was almost 16, 17 level there. So after 3-5 days, young guy almost every day after 5 days started overcoming his previous day target, as well as always exceeding the senior person's level of yield. So senior person was not happy. He felt his days are over. and he complained to the Tim Boner as well. Then Tim Boner one day called both of them and asked, what is the problem? Then senior person said, no, I am putting a lot of effort. I have been doing this job over last several years. But every day, I see my yield is coming down. But this guy, I don't know what he's doing. He's getting better results. I think there is something wrong here. Then timber shop owner asked the new guy, what did you do differently? What is the reason for you to have increasing yields compared to the other person? The younger guy just smiled and asked the senior person, when did you sharpen your axe the last? So this is common issue sometimes most of us have. We are busy. And we continue to do the same thing and busy at doing that. We don't think back, take a bit of time to sharpen our axe. So that is what the young guy did. He, regular occurrence, sharpened his axe. So it's a learning for all of us. That's why I mentioned there are changes happening in the outside world. Technology is different. What we are going to learn today might be relevant in another 3 years' time, but we need to be vigilant on what is happening elsewhere and always sharpen our axe and get ready to change those changes, get ready to face those changes. So that's my message before I move into our next area, future fit accountant. I'll quickly touch upon I don't know whether you will understand all this because you are just starting the career or just starting your learning. Even if it is surface, just okay, but have some of these words in mind. So one day you may find it interesting, or when you are in third year or when you are starting your practical training, try to see, refresh this and see how you adapt it in practical world. Yeah. So how to become a future fit accountant? I always like to draw those accountants' attention on these 4 roles. If you want to be a future ready, future fit accountant, these are 4 roles that you need to play. I'll bit more elaborate it in future slide. What are those 4 roles? Value reporter, value preserver, value enabler, and value creator. So value reporter is, I'll briefly explain and go into more detail in a while. Value reporter is more to do with your financial statements, numbers, what you present to your stakeholders. Value preserver is more to do with asset liability management, controlling aspects, risk management, implementing controls, that side of finance or professional accountant. Most of the time, professional accountants or those who are even studying for professional accountancy or even employers think accountant role is these 2, bottom part, value reporter and value preserver. Even accountants think that is the only role. Sometimes employers also think that is the only role, value reporter and value preserver. So they tend to forget 2 very important roles that an accountant is supposed to play. That is value enabler and value creator. So value enabler is more to do with looking at your numbers, providing more insight, technology support for the business. That's more value enabler side, or navigating the business. The 4th one is value creator side, that is coming up with growth strategies, coming up with changes required to the business. It's more to do with value creator. So under these 4 roles, I'm going to introduce some core words as well. As I mentioned, these are the two roles that a lot of people get misled as their role, but accountant cannot stop them. So it's a balancing role that you need to play all four. Especially when you are up in the ladder, your emphasis is more on value enabler and value creator. You can play last two roles, value reporter, value preserver, when you are in the bottom of your career or starting career level, you can do those two. But when you go up middle level, upper levels, you definitely need to play this value creator and value enabler role for you to be a real business partner. Because the finance professional is a business partner. For you to be a real business partner, you need to play these two roles. Okay, so value, I'm not going to go into very much details. So just keep these words in mind. Value creator is a co-pilot. Co-pilot is a pilot supporting the main one. And then you try to drive change and growth. Keep those words in mind. So value creator is a co-pilot. Always try to drive change and growth in the business. Value enabler has two roles. Navigator, that is, you see what is going to happen before it happens in future. You try to navigate before some issue comes up. And second role relating to value enabler is technology enabler. You ask a question whether we need to be a technology driven person, whether we need to have some technology idea. Yes, for you to play that value enabler role, you need to have a digital and technology enabler. You need to be a digital and technology enablers. For you to be an enabler, you need to know some of the digital and technology related areas. So I'll tell you what those some of the areas as well. Then comes value reporter. So value reporter, as I mentioned, is about your numbers, how you present it. It has to be a storyteller. Sometimes the issue with accountant is, I mentioned earlier, issues with accountants. They know what they do, but they can't explain, they can't present themselves. This is the issue. So if you go back and think, we can still remember stories our grandmothers, grandparents, or kindergarten teacher told us. Why? Because those were interesting. We can still remember. Simply, accountant needs to be a good storyteller. If we can't tell our story of the business in an interesting manner where our stakeholders can remember, as an accountant, we have failed. So that is why it says, it is not about creating a story and telling a story. Storyteller is another meaning. He's a storyteller. When someone says he's a storyteller, it's another meaning. It's a fairy tale. I'm talking here is storyteller in the meaning of stories that we still can remember, those kindergarten stories, because those are interesting. We can picturize, there is visualization of that story. So something similar, accountant needs to be a storyteller when he reports his value. Everyone needs to, stakeholders needs to get it well. Because if you look at even sometimes biggest complaint we have in an annual report is stakeholders says they don't understand a tick about an annual report, because it's very difficult to read an annual report and understand it sometimes because it's so much of technical jargon. So how do we give our message across to our stakeholders in a simple manner and tell that story is the storyteller. So that's the third value reporter. Final role, as I mentioned, value preserver, that is to do with control and process expert. You need to be a control and process expert. And if you do that role, that is where you have all the risk management, preserving values, asset controls, control parameters, workflows, all that part comes in this role. So 4 roles under that subcategories I have mentioned. Every accountant who is going to be fitting into the future roles needs to have this in mind and then be a co-pilot, navigator, especially those 2 areas. You need to be a co-pilot, navigator, and technology enabler. So those are 3 things that you need to master for you to be a future fit accountant. So when you do that, effective value creators follow 3 I's. information to insight, and insight to influence. What does that mean? Simply, I told you that in storyteller part, sometimes you might present your financial statement, P&L, and give profit figure. That's information. Your company accounts or partnership or everything you do, nicely done. This is net profit. This is balance sheet position. That's information. What do you mean by insight? You don't stop there. From information, then you go further down and see, okay, out of this profit, I'm going into product level profitability and see there are 3 product lines having higher NP of 25% and 2 product lines having low NP of 5% and another product line having negative NP. So you go further down and get more insight and push that information out. Throw it out to the management and say, guys, yes, we have a good profitability, but if that is providing more insight. You don't just stop at surface. You go further down, drill it down, identifying what is happening inside and give that story out. That is insight. You don't stop there. With insight, you go to influence. What does that mean? Okay, now I'm providing you with this information. This is what you need to do in order to improve it. I don't think this particular product category is going to give us profits. Over last 3 years, the margin have been very low and it's declining. My recommendation is to discontinue this product line. You can look at separate study and take a call. So what do you do there? You influence the decision. You come up with facts and say, this is the fact as per last 3 years, and this has been having declining profitabilities, and I don't think it's worth continuing. So you influence the decision of others who are in the operation, and finally they may take the call and say, okay, you are right. We also did our own independent analysis. Good that you came up with this, otherwise you would have continued with this loss-making product. So we decide automatically your bottom line goes up. So what does that mean? You are playing that business partnering role. You are not just stopping at information. You go into further deep, you provide that influence. So this is what I meant earlier. We need to be that finance profession. That when that happens, only people will respect you and accept you as a key player in the team. To answer your question, technology, yes. For you to be a value enabler, you need to be a technology partner as well. So these are some of the technologies that are shaping up accounting world as well. We call it ABCD relating to finance. A is artificial intelligence. I'm not saying you need to have masters in artificial intelligence. At least know what this is, how it's going to change the future. Get some idea about it. B is blockchain, ABCD. C is cybersecurity. And D is data analytics. So these are some of the areas that are having impact or going to have impact on the finance role. As I mentioned, these are areas that a finance person needs to drive if you are a value enabler as a technology partner. So these are key messages that I would like to deliver today and pass on to you, young undergraduates. Some may be a bit high level or overloading to you all, or don't get scared. You will learn these things in more detail. I believe some of these must be covering in your syllabus as well. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Your information was actually very interesting and very simple and really understandable in easy facts and figures. You have presented them. So I would like to ask if there are any questions from our batchmates. You can put it in the chat box or just send to Ranush, our president. Yes. you can ask any question you like to get further insights and knowledge.
I said you need to challenge.
Sorry, sir.
I said undergraduates, there is an issue that they don't challenge. So you need to prove that I'm wrong. You need to challenge and ask questions.
Yeah. The previous slides you said.
Yeah.
So guys, what else do you want to know regarding the future of accounting and the skills that you need to acquire to become successful in your career? Yes, there's one question from one of the students. So what steps that should be followed to become a chartered accountant, a chartered qualified accountant? Now, what else? What are steps to be followed now? Starting from this bachelor's degree as the foundation, what are the hierarchy that the students must follow?
Okay. I first we'll have to see whether your degree has reciprocal and exemption route. Otherwise, my advice is to write to the institute and establish that, because there are some degrees who are having exemptions. So with that, once you complete the degree, there's a particular level that get exempted. So CA has 3 levels. Business level. Business level has 2 levels, business level 1 and 2, then corporate level, finally strategic level. So each level has 4 subjects, altogether 15 subjects as I remember. So normally you can do it within 2.5 to 3 years, and there is a compulsory 3-year practical training requirement. Out of that 1 year, with 1 year practical training, you can do business level, strategic level subjects. But for you to become a membership, to become a member, you need 2 years of strategic level training. So I encourage all the students who are following undergraduate studies to follow a professional qualification. I'm not undermining a degree. Degree is necessary, but we will have to see when you go out what is available in the market, or someone who is coming up with another qualification will have always a better chance than you when they go to the job market. So that's why I'm saying you always need to follow a professional qualification while you follow degree, because these two are 2 different paths. Degree is more of academic. It is good and necessary. Professional qualification is more relating to profession, practical aspects, and application. So both are necessary. So my advice is, while you follow your degree, do a professional qualification. This is the same advice we got when we were doing our degrees, my BSc Accountancy first degree. Professor M.W. Vikramarachchi, who is the founding father of our department, he used to always say, students, you must follow another professional qualification. And when he had that vision, encourage us to do it. And he said, you all are going to be international citizens, not local citizens. You should be international citizens. So you need to follow qualifications, not only this degree. I think I am happy that he has achieved his vision. Even our batch, we have almost 60% of our batchmates are not in the country.
Thank you, sir. Also, if you don't mind, can you just give another further clarification regarding the job fit, which means the 4 roles for the accountant, which we discussed earlier regarding the value creator, enabler, reporter, and the perceiver? Can you just give some other further clarifications regarding those 4?
Right. Okay. So value reporter, simply I will say value reporter is normally what accountant does. That is preparation of financial statements, coming up with your accounts, monthly accounts, and all that. Value preserver, you will see when you go to the corporate world. That's why you find this difficult to understand. Value preserver is the accountant, because any business accountant is considered to be the person who is looking after controls. What do you mean by controls? Who is the authorized person to sign a check? Who has authority to approve a particular amount? What is the capital expenditure approval levels applicable to a person? So there are controls that you need to put in place. Who is authorizing it? Who is recommending it? So those controls are normally established by the finance person, or it has to get finance person's approval. So that is what it means by value preserver. In addition to that, value preserver role involve safeguarding assets, controlling assets ownership, physically verifying whether asset is available. All those are becoming part and parcel of responsibilities relating to finance persons. That's what you mean by value preserving organization value. Even risk management side, whether there can be issues coming from theft or fraud, how do I protect those against those threats? So that is value preserve. So value enabling is, as I mentioned, how do I see something before it happens? Finance person, if you are doing really a good job, you need to see even before your CEO sees. Why? There is no one in the business who sees the full picture other than finance person. Again, you will realize when you go to the business. Not marketing person, not HR person, not even CEO. You are the only person who sees the full picture of the business because you have all the information at your fingertips. So when you have that, you should be able to drive the business decisions as navigation. So you see, navigation means what? Before something happens, you can see it because you have information. Then finally, value creator, you come up with strategies and support the business change. You come and say, no, this is not going to work. I don't think this strategy is working. Or we should look at this acquisition. If we want to grow, this area is the best area to grow. This market is the best market to concentrate and grow. So that is your adding value to create that value. You come up with strategies. That's a value creation.
Yes, sir. So now we can see a great leap in technology ahead of us. So many things have changed. And now what can you say regarding the job role of an accountant 20 years ago and 20 years after? And if there are any further changes with this new technology, which is developing every second, I see. So how can undergraduates and people who follow accountancy related aspects adapt to this change? How can they be flexible in the sense?
Okay, I can tell you that accountant role is not going to be redundant. Accountant role is there, but what is going to be made redundant is some of the functions that accountant used to do. Bookkeeping, financial statement. Now, let's say financial statement preparation part, sometime back was a major part in your accountant role. We didn't have ERP systems. It was on Excel. Each department was not connected to each other. So you have to gather information, then collate it on Excel sometimes, and then prepare financial statements. There is no sometimes group level or company level consolidation happening because you don't have information. So that period is gone now. Now it has come to a level where no need of doing spreadsheet trial balance. It's a click of a button. Now you get the financial statement. So accountant role is now to interpret it, go more detail and provide more insight. So that is the role that is expected now. So, but if you are still in the same old age of doing financial statements, looking at those Excel sheets, then that role is going to be redundant. So that's what I would like to say. So what you need to get adapted yourself is, how do I provide more insight? For me to provide more insight, how do I go into data analytics, build models, is my information system is ready to gather more information and data? What are those data touch points? So is it available, and can I increase those data touch points and come up with those data analytics and go for future? More to do with predictive analysis. The final outcome of data analytics is not analyzing history, no. So accountant role is not analyzing history. What we need to see is, based on history, forecasting future. So that is what we need to master ourselves. And for us to do that, we need capturing of data, identifying data capturing points, if there are issues in those data capturing or databases, cleansing them. So that's a part of accountant in years to come.
Yes. So now we discussed about this data analytics part minimum much time. So is it okay to follow a data science degree together with an accountancy degree? Since now, as you said earlier, sir, many students are trying to increase their paths, diversify their paths, I can say. So is it okay to follow a data science degree as well along with an accountancy degree?
I'm not sure whether you need to go into a data scientist level. What you need to know is telling a data scientist what is the requirement and what needs to be done, because data science may involve going into very statistical level analysis, building predictive models, but having overall understanding is always good. I am not quite sure whether you need to go into data analytics, because it's like if I want to go into a data engineering. And so if I am doing engineering, being accountant, because I want to understand engineering, I don't think that is required. But having, let's say, developing a dashboard, using Power BI, how to interpret results, that understanding is necessary. So whether you need to do full program or overall program is the question that we will have to decide. But I don't think it has to be a deep-rooted data analytics program that you need to follow. What we need is to interpretation, guiding someone to get that information. That's kind of knowledge. Yeah.
Also, sir, as a person following accountancy, any path in accountancy, as we discussed earlier, what are the skills that foreign countries require from an accounting profession, from a person who have studied accounting and studied in depth? So what are the jobs that a person can follow if he is to migrate to a foreign country by studying the accountancy things?
Okay. I think if you are planning to migrate to a foreign country, definitely a degree helps, and similarly, extra professional qualification, you better to have it because they look for that. Foreign countries, especially, it depends on the area that you are looking at. Countries like Middle East, there is very high demand for Sri Lankan professionals, especially when it comes to international financial reporting standard areas, because they consider our accountants are very technically sound and our interpretations are very good. So I think there are many chartered accountants working in Middle East countries because they have got that exposure. Similarly, it depends on where you get your first training as well. So let's say there are big 5 firms in the world, and Sri Lanka also, they have their presence. So try to, if you are looking at foreign opportunities, best way to get a foreign exposure and getting a foreign placement is going through those big 5 firms or big 6 in your first practical training period.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is now this ABCD criteria under technology. From AI, cybersecurity, and data analytics, we have some kind of familiarity. But sir, could you please explain about the blockchain concept some more, about this concept some more in detail? Because
so actually, I'm not an expertise, having expertise in blockchain, and I'm also trying to study this area yet, but blockchain, what it does is a distributed ledger. Simply, let's say, currently, when we look at our land bank, I'm trying to explain it that way. So our land ownership, if you want to check your land ownership, you need to go to the land registry. When you go to land registry, they give you extract of the ownership and pedigree of the owner's details. So you have to spend almost one day. Then they take this extract and say who owned it 1950, 1956, 80, now who is the owner, how the land got transferred, all that is there in that particular extract. So what blockchain does is it compile all this information into a chain where now, let's say, simple example that I mentioned earlier, land registry. Now person at home can see the same ownership structure, how it moved, if even I'm moving it to another person, when it was moved, all that can be shown in a one database. So it's a kind of simple way to explain blockchain, but I'm not in a position to give it a technical explanation at this particular moment, because even Sri Lanka, we are still yet to adapt the blockchain technologies.
So now these days, presentation skills is a must for every person, especially for accountants. We discussed earlier that the problem with young accountants is that they cannot present themselves. So it's a must to develop and polish their presentation skills. Also, along with that, sir, during the undergraduate life, what are the skills that they should acquire from the IT side before they enter the industry?
Yeah, so I think, as I mentioned, simple thing is Microsoft knowledge, especially to do with even presentation, Microsoft PowerPoint. New trend is Power BI. That is again data analytics tool of Microsoft. So having Power BI knowledge is definitely a plus point.
So, sir, to polish further with this IT side and the technology with computers and machines, so is it okay? Is it possible to follow a degree in computer engineering or software engineering along with the accounting degree? Will it be beneficial for accountants at some point in life?
That again, I mentioned earlier. So you need to see what are the gaps in your qualification. Sometimes when you try to do too much of things and very deep-rooted ones to fill that gap, you may find it you're out of scope. So I don't know whether you need to follow a separate degree for that matter. So there may be high-level diplomas available for you to fill that gap. So my advice would be concentrating on the qualification what at hand and trying to find areas you can fill that gap, because after some time when you go up the ladder, no one looks at your qualification.
Yeah.
Even let's say when I joined MAs or when I joined David Pieris group, I can't remember they asking me my paper certificates. They asked the paper certificates for the formality of filling my personal file, but it's nothing to do with what the qualification you have gained after some time. Qualification is required to display your knowledge only. So if there is another way of getting that knowledge required for your job, that's more than enough. And what matters is what you have delivered during that period as the person who holds the position. So having or going into too much of deep qualification also might be disadvantage, and sometimes what you need to achieve in your current core area, you might not achieve.
Yes. And sir, finally, sir, you introduced your life story with us. You said you managed that hard auditing experience along with the final year end semester examinations and CA exams and extracurricular activities and every other thing. So how did you manage to keep your vision stable? Your vision in the university to get a first class and the other vision of achieving your audit success with your team members. So how did you manage all these things? What advice can you give for students who are currently parallelly following similar aspects?
Yeah, I think first thing what we'll have to understand is not to get too much of pressure. Having said that, even I was under a lot of pressure. It's natural that you get pressure when you have so many objectives. But what I can think of is you always need to cherish the moment you are going to achieve it. In the sense, okay, now I am thinking what will happen if I don't get through. Rather than that, I used to think, okay, what will happen if I get through? Because when you have that negative mindset, it puts you down. So I always try to look at a positive mind. That's one thing I did. Always look at things positively and put some of the, as I mentioned earlier as well, my priority was to look at the career and my job related one first, and then education and qualification. So that also I think gave you some self-satisfaction and fulfillment. Also that also helped. Second one, I had a good set of friends. I think all of you need to have that set of people who work with you together and support you. I think when we did our finals, there were 5 or 6 of us. We did studies together. One is now a deputy managing director at one of the leading SBU of Pieris group. Another one is assistant director at Central Bank. Another one is a CEO of Richard Pieris group of companies. We all did our finals as well as our practical training together. So when someone is having a difficulty, there is another one who is always there to support you. Let's say you miss classes, you don't have sometimes your own notes. So you need to find that set of friends selflessly support you. Sometimes you find friends, they are selfishly supporting you. So you need to get that clique of people and work with them. Thirdly, as I mentioned earlier, don't have too much of pressure built on you. And think if this doesn't happen this time, let's do it next time. I'm putting my best effort. Because that's not the end of life. So if you have that pressure easing through your own psychology, it free up your mind time, and it doesn't mean you give up. So put your maximum. Don't give up. Put your maximum and give it a try. Don't regret if you come down even, because you know that you have put your best effort. So I don't think there is a formula I can spell out and say this is what you need to do. It depends on person to person, and always think, no, I'm going to do this for my parents. I'm going to do this for my siblings. So that keeps you motivated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much for sharing everything with us, everything which you had, which you faced, and for encouraging us. Your lectures were actually easy to understand from anyone, even not from a graduate side, but any student can understand what you explained us. It's really full with insights and experience. I really appreciate you coming here, sacrificing your precious time. These 2 hours means a lot to you in your busy schedule. And we really appreciate, the entire department appreciates your presence here with us. And we really hope that you will always be with us in future to help us, help the department, and join hands with our department collaborate, the DAFcollaborate, to pave the way and guide the young undergraduates to build up their future vision in the corporate world. Thank you very much, sir. Also, another small help from you. If you don't mind, can you share these slides with us? Because they are very important for us. Could you send it to Tharani madam so we can get access to them from her, or anyway convenient to you?
I'll forward it to Tharani.
Yeah, so these slides are full up with good information. That's why. So, so thank you very much, sir. Really appreciate everything you did. And finally, a big thank you for our dear lecturer of the department, Mrs. Tarun Suryaarchi, for bringing down and coordinating with Heshana. And thank you very much, madam. Also, our department head, Mrs. Maitri Vidana Karyakarnage, and the next in charge, Mrs. Dilvisa Naik, for always being the backbone for us. And my SCAF family for being there every time and guiding us and organizing such great events. And finally, every participant who joined us, thank you very much for coming. I really hope that this session was a fruitful one to all of you and to build up your future career. Thank you very much, everyone. Hoping to see you soon in another series of webcasts. I really hope that this will end and we can meet up physically. Till then, guys, please take care, be safe. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity given. Yes, if there is any other opportunity to interact, definitely, because dealing with students is my passion. As I told you, I have taught so many chartered accountants. So all the very best young accountants and young graduates. Hope to see you as corporate leaders, because you all are going to take over these positions in years to come. So let's meet and our paths may cross someday. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Really appreciate everything.
Thank you.